All right, we're going to get started. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on January 8, 2016, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on UTTV Channel 97 and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I would ask all to rise for the salute to the flag. And Forrest, would you come up and lead us through the salute to the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Why don't you stay there for a second? We just need to call roll and get you two things, and then we'll give you your presentation. So, would you call the roll, please, Barbara?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Coggins?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Colombo?
Here.
All members are present.
Would someone like to make approval of the minutes from December 14th, of both the regular and closed session minutes?
So motion to approve. Second.
Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Hearing none. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, so before we move on to the report of the governing body members, we're very privileged today to honor Forrest Yelenwan on his achievement of Eagle Scout. Forrest was a part of the Troop 76 Seattle, New Jersey troop and has recently achieved the designation of Eagle Scout from the Boy Scouts of America. The Township wishes to acknowledge this outstanding accomplishment and resolve that the Township Committee extends its sincere congratulations to Forrest on the occasion of receiving this designation of Eagle Scout and commends him for this outstanding accomplishment and the completion of his Eagle Scout project, consisting of design and installation of an indoor volleyball court, benches, pavers, and arbor entrance, and a garden at the Trinity United Methodist Church in Marmora. That the Township Committee extends its sincere congratulations and best wishes to Forrest's parents, family, and friends on this happy occasion, and that the Township also extends its congratulations and appreciation to the Scoutmasters and others who give so freely and generously of their time for the benefit of our youth. This is a very big accomplishment. We have been told over the years that only 2% of the Boy Scouts can have achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. It's certainly something that goes forward in your resume as you go through life. There are a lot of noted leaders in this country that were Eagle Scouts. And so I think Forrest should be commended. And he's well on his way, hopefully, for success and good fortune. And maybe one day he'll be sitting at this podium addressing the township as well. So I congratulate him.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. We just would need a motion.
Motion to accept. So I'll make a motion that
Very
we
good.
accept the resolution.
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Thank you. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much.
So congratulations. I've got to get you a picture here. It's big time. You gotta get the important one with your mom. That's the important one over there. Congratulations. Thank you so much for your contribution to the township.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to go because I'm sure he has some things, homework and those kind of things. And if not, I'm not sure who you're rooting for tonight, but a big football game tonight.
Alabama.
Ah, look at that. We got Crimson Tide on this side. We got the Tigers on that side. All right, so let's move on. Barbara, you have anything for us this evening? Thank you again. Have a great night.
Excellent.
Nothing to report this evening, sir.
Daniel?
Thank you.
Nothing at this time, but we have a number of litigation and contract negotiation matters for closed session. We also have some personnel and a safety and security issue.
Okay. Paul?
Thank you. I just wanted to give you a couple of project updates. First, the Route 50 Tuggo Bridge project, they did do some paving last week, and so now that they've finished paving the shoulder of the southbound lanes over the next week, between now and next week, they'll start moving the traffic around and to close off the northbound shoulder. They may, as part of that traffic closure, start and install the one-way alternating traffic detour and lane closures on the bridge itself. So that would be controlled by a temporary traffic signal to allow alternating one-way traffic controlled by a signal. They have installed the truck detour for the bridge, that could be happening within 2 weeks. To start that, I do know that they would be contacting our REMS and Tuckahoe Fire Company to work out the logistics of how the traffic signal works and give them the special operators so that they can actuate the signal in an emergency.
Paul, will that carry throughout the life of the project now with the alternating bridge?
Yes. Yes.
We have no estimated time of completion.
My understanding, it would be not this May, following May of 2017 is when they would anticipate having the bridge reopened.
Do we anticipate any relief from this kind of congested traffic pattern that's been experienced in Tuckahoe at this point?
I think that you'll see some relief because by this coming summer, they should have all the roadway construction completed. So, where there was lane shiftings and traffic not able to move around, stop traffic, whether it was at the signal or different residences or businesses along Route 50, I think that will clear up. However, we'll have the whole new issue of the alternating traffic at the bridge. So we'll have to see how that happens. Hopefully also some of the construction on the parkway, maybe we'll get a little more advanced by springtime, and the South Jersey Transportation Authority won't be directing people to get off at Route 50 in Mays Landing and have them head down through Tuckahoe to avoid the Parkway and Expressway interchange work. So that may also help.
Okay. Where are we at with the beach replenishment project?
They have completed the work. They started around Vincent, maybe a little bit north of there, and they headed north. They are working up in the state park area where they had to pull out, I think towards the end of last week because of the high seas that we've been experiencing over the weekend. So as soon as the seas settle back down, they'll put the barge back out there and start dredging out of the inlet again. And once they do that, that's really where the bulk of the sand loss that we had for the project. So once they turn around and start moving, it'll go pretty fast, and they should be able to complete, weather depending, before the end of the month.
Okay.
The next thing I wanted to update you, I did talk to the project engineer on the Garden State Parkway Bridge project. Initially, they were hoping to be able to have the lanes open for summer traffic, to have all the traffic on the new bridge. The contractor has been a little slow in his progress over the last couple months. So the contractor's kind of been telling them August that they'll be able to do it, but I think the Turnpike Authority has been having some negotiations and discussions with them to try to speed up their schedule.
It was supposed to be June though, right?
It was supposed to be June, but it's based on their progress to date, it's going to slide to at least August if they don't work out some things, or if the contractor doesn't improve their productivity.
Okay.
And then the last thing I had was I just wanted to make sure the committee was okay with. We had talked about at the end of last year in progressing some of our affordable housing projects that we had as part of the housing plan was an accessory apartment ordinance to help fund and provide for accessory apartments in the commercial zones. That the committee was okay with an ordinance to be placed on an agenda based on the draft ordinance that we have in our fair share plan to move that forward.
So,
I haven't discussed this recently with Paul. I'm assuming that's already been vetted by the planning board.
Yeah, it's been vetted by the planning board. It's in our fair share
Have they
plan.
produced the sample ordinance yet?
Yes, there's a sample ordinance in the housing plan. The committee's actually, already, looked at it when
Is
they.
this the one from a number of years ago?
Yes.
Okay. Review it, and perhaps, is there a timeline that you're concerned about in terms of?
We're just looking to, anything we can do to show continued compliance and implementation of our
With
affordable
respect
housing
to-
plan with the courts. That's.
Okay. We do have on closed session that litigation for affordable housing, so I would think that this dovetails into that, and we should talk about that somewhat in this context, because it is an ongoing litigation matter. So why don't we reserve for closed session as to the impact it has on that litigation.
okay. Anything else?
That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, Mr. Coggins.
Well, we've started into budget season again. I met with Barbara this afternoon, and she's indicated that committee members should have a draft of the budget probably mid next week at the latest. Our first budget workshop will be our next meeting at 6:30. Our next meeting, I believe, is on the 28th.
25th.
I'm sorry?
25th.
25th. And also on another note, just compliments to all the departments this year. The 2015 budget appears at this point as though it is going to come in possibly as much as 5% below our budget. So I think everybody's done a very good job this year of watching their expenses, from public works, recreation. Barbara's done a tremendous job of keeping an eye on things and trying to keep people under control and holding them to their budgets. So it's worked out very well for us this year.
And if Mother Nature continues to cooperate and doesn't give us
That-
any snow,
and that's certainly-
our budget could start off quite well for 2016 as well.
And that certainly was a factor as well.
Yep. Great, well, that's good news. All right, so 6:30, we'll have a working open workshop on January 25th. All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Young.
Just a couple things tonight. A few weeks ago, we had a situation out at Amanda's Field again, with somebody running all over the field and smashing through a fence. It's my understanding that that was taken care, or going into court.
They have pressed charges against the individual they believe has was the culprit. I don't believe he's had his day in court yet.
No, he hasn't.
And I believe we've almost tallied up the damages, so we're going to be passing that along to state police so that they can file the final charges against that individual.
Are you or Dwayne going to be at the court that day to make sure we're represented?
I'll make sure somebody is there to accurately represent what damages we have.
Yeah, I think down the road, we're going to have to look serious about trying to fence that park in a little bit at a time on the entire perimeter. They're coming in from all angles out there and through the pits and people's side yards. And this is what, the third or fourth time this year we've had an issue.
Though I don't know if the fence would have stopped this individual because he did drive through several of our fences out there. So.
Well, I'm not talking about a split rail, I'm talking about
Yes, we do have some other areas that are vulnerable,
fence.
but this individual did drive through fences, so fencing may not have stopped this individual.
Okay. Where are we as far as getting back on Amanda's and based on the leaf pickup, I guess?
Actually-
I know that they said they had John and them out doing leaves at Codwell Park and different places.
We're, the main reason, really, weather was, over the last couple of weeks, really, there wasn't a lot to do out there because of weather conditions. We actually we're finishing up the second round of leaves. We'll probably be done by the end of this week to have the full round of the loose leaf collection, so we'll be done collecting loose leaves. So I imagine next week we'll be in full force back on those capital projects.
Okay. The other thing, I talked to Paul today, we had an issue again with the community center this weekend with programs using it and leaving it a mess. I know Mike went out and inspected along with Paul and Barb. These programs seem to be telling us they're gonna take care of it, and they're not doing it. I know the other day we had basketball all day, and then wrestling was in there that night, and then Mac was in there, from my understanding. So we had quite a few people in there during the weekend. I'm not sure how to control it when we had that large of a group going in, other than maybe we should start looking into having part-timers. Not township employees, part-timers as far as the overtime, but designated part-timers if we can, to work 4 hours or 6 hour shifts to be in there when they're packed. I think it's the only way we're gonna control it. So it's something, we need to look desperately at.
Well, the other thing we're looking at doing is, for those, when they're doing matches, they have, as a fundraiser, they have the kitchen open to, sell concessions. We may be not allowing them access to the kitchen, so they may lose a weekend of concessions if they're not compliant. So that may be another avenue where it's not a direct fine from the township, but they may lose a weekend's worth of revenue from their concessions.
Yeah, and again, we're not looking for them to fine clean, but when there's wads of toilet paper all over the floor and the hot dog machine was never cleaned, those kind of issues, it's something we shouldn't have to be doing unless they're gonna pay us to do it.
Are we
Our job
documenting
is-
this stuff? I mean, we're
Yeah.
taking pictures?
I know Barb has, I think Mike was out there too. Mike, you were there, right?
Documented.
Huh?
What, this weekend?
Yeah,
Nope.
I thought you went over to look at it.
I sent an employee to do it.
Okay.
I'm not, no, he did not take pictures. I've taken pictures in the past and they've gone nowhere. So,
Well,
pictures were not taken.
Well, I do think that as we move forward, well, you're shaking your head, but I believe that if we have proof, it'll also, help us in trying to make decisions here. I'm not opposed to what Mr. Young is suggesting, that maybe we have somebody part-time just to fill in on some of the weekends and clean up, but in the same respect, I think the groups that are using it need to see what exactly we're talking about. It's not an exaggeration. It needs to be addressed.
And it might be where somebody has to go there once, until we change the habits. Maybe somebody has to be there when they're closing up to make sure that things are done.
Well, but one of the things you can do, and we can take a look at the ordinance, I think you probably have the right to do that when they schedule it, depending upon the facility. You may say an outside cleaning service is required and give them the bill for it and say it has to be paid before you get access. They got to pay the funds to the clerk for the cleaning service. I mean, that might take care of it. So next time you use a facility, you're going to have to pay upfront before you schedule the facility for a cleaning service.
Or even get the group to pay for if you kept
That's what I mean.
the full-timer there.
Pay it.
Yeah, if you had a full-timer there, get the group to pay for the man.
Basketball in there all day, then Mac was in there, and wrestling was in there. So there's really I don't know if there's any downtime in between the events to have somebody clean or to go through there.
Well, the problem is if you have
Tough
multiple
situation.
groups, then how are you going to assess who's responsible?
Right.
Yeah, you'd have to have a checklist and all that kind of stuff.
So you'd have to have an inspection.
do
after each
Yes.
list.
Yeah. I mean, myself, I'd like to see a big board, check-in board, and everything on it, itemized, and each group that come in there has to sign in.
We do have that. We have a check sheet, and they are supposed to be completing the check sheet when they leave. I have some of the groups do complete it, and others are negligent as far as going down the list and making sure that each item is done, that they've checked the bathroom, checked the
Again, do we know
kitchen,
which
make sure the
programs
hot
this
dog thing's
weekend
clean.
made the mess, or,
We have a good feel.
we had 3 different programs in there, that's why I'm asking.
Michael,
Well,
you...
the one program did report coming into the situation, coming into the,
That it was a mess when they arrived.
yes, it was reported to me on Saturday evening that they found it that way. And Mike did have one of his guys go out there and do a quick go over of the place. But as far as the other 2 go, we don't know.
So do we know if that was basketball or wrestling?
Well, Michael, you had something to say?
Friday night there was a wrestling match there.
Can you pick this up?
Well, can you come up to the microphone, because we...
Mike Jones, Buildings and Grounds Supervisor, Township. Friday night there was a wrestling match at the community center that I was not aware of. There was basketball games all day Saturday night, or all day Saturday I was not aware of. Max skate night was scheduled in there Saturday night. Basketball on Sunday, baseball on Sunday night. I did not have an employee go there and clean because it was practice, as far as I know. So everything was stocked up on Friday. We were fine. Until I found out Saturday afternoon about 3 o'clock that there was a wrestling match Friday night. Basketball games all day Saturday into Max skate night. And I only knew that because of the wonderful world of Facebook. I saw pictures posted of basketball games at the community center. Well, as soon as I saw that, I knew I was in a jam to get the place clean. Called the employee to come in. He said the place was a disaster. He said it looked like a bomb went off. I've been battling this for 12 months since I took over. There has been pictures taken, documentation done, discussions in the clerk's office about scheduling, discussions on what to do with these programs. Mr. Pearson makes suggestions that we go to a checklist. Been there, done that, it doesn't work. Barb has sent off nasty emails. Been there, done that, it's not working. How can you impose a fine on a recreation program that is really not making money? Rec basketball, you sign the kids up, they play basketball, they go home. Rec basketball is not a per se money-making program. It's for the kids that go out that want to play. You get into travel basketball or the travel sports, that's where they're making more money. But the rec program of basketball is not making the money. We need to come up with a solution for these rec programs. And when I say recreation programs, I'm talking about the rec soccer, not travel soccer. Rec basketball, not travel basketball. Because there's a big difference in cost when it gets to these other programs. So we need to come up with a solution on what to do with the rec programs. Like Saturday was rec basketball. It was little kids. You know, it's not their fault, but we need a solution on what to do to make them held accountable. The outside organizations are a little bit easier. You can charge them a fee. But the pictures have been taken, the documentation has been done. And I've been battling this since I was put in this position 12 months ago. We fight this every year, this time of year, because of the amount of people in the community center. So you guys, we send everything back to the recreation board. That's not working.
No, we've made recommendations, and that's as far as we can go with it. So
It's, you guys need to make the ultimate decision on what to do to make these people accountable. The guy went into the community center Sunday to clean. I went in there with my other guy today, and I probably picked up a half a roll of toilet paper off the women's roof floor. So I know right there they're not doing the checklist. After basketball was done on Saturday, the scoreboard was left on, all the chairs were out, all the lights were on, all the doors were open, they weren't even locked. The whole building was accessible to anybody that walked in there. So moving forward, and I'll give you a perfect example, this weekend, we have wrestling Friday night. We have basketball games all day Saturday till 4 o'clock. There's a wrestling match that starts at 4:15.
on Saturday,
On Saturday. Can you figure out how I can get somebody in there to clean in that allotted amount of time? I'm open for suggestions. That wrestling match is a quad meet from my understanding, so you're gonna have a whole lot of people there Saturday night.
I mean, I don't think you need to have somebody in between 4 and 4:15 to clean up. I think what we need to do is make sure that there's someone there, you know, at 2 o'clock or whatever, 2 to 4, 2 to, you know, whatever it is, to try and.
You say nobody needs there to be cleaned up. Who's gonna clean up the mess at basketball
I didn't
games,
say
Rich?
that, Michael. You need to listen to what I'm saying.
I did just hear you.
No, you intimated that between 4 and 4:15, there were two different groups coming in, and
Yes.
how would you be able to maintain it at that point?
Yes.
And then my argument is we need somebody there at 2 o'clock to start taking care of it for the next group that's coming in.
Okay. I mean, whatever, I'm open to whatever suggestions. I just have to coordinate the personnel to be in there to work it.
I know we've discussed it, you know, so many times at the rec board and made recommendations, and we've talked to the coordinators and told them, yeah, this has to stop. So, and it seems like it does for a month, and then it's right back to where it was. Again, when we're having 3 and 4 different things going on one weekend, that's a lot
I
of,
mean, Dave and I were in there today with credit cards, scraping the gum, the Skittles, the M&Ms off the gym floor. I mean, where do we want to go with this?
That's what we need to decide. And, you know, for my opinion, I think what we need to do is, at least for the next couple of weeks, as we begin to look at a revision, we need to address the imminent problem as it exists now. So we either have someone that's willing to work extra on Saturdays, or we have to quickly find someone that's willing to work to clean it up and help maintain the facility on Saturday to address some of these problems. You know, probably the best bet is to see if we have anyone that's interested in working a little overtime for the next couple of weeks until we figure out, you know, what the best plan of action is. I mean, we're really pressed for time, considering that Saturday's all but 6 days away.
and this is really use-oriented, right? And this is driven by how many groups are in there.
Yeah, if there's a practice is one thing, as opposed to games, it's a big difference. Practice,
Games, you have
There's a
maybe
lot of-
7, 8 games, and it's different coaches, different people, and everybody grabs their kids, they run out the door.
Right.
So it comes down to the last person in there.
but basketball should have somebody there the whole time, and then when that building is done and over with, somebody on the board for basketball should be there. Where they should have somebody in charge to make sure they lock up and they clean up. And if they're not doing that, then the coaches are walking out the door because it's not their responsibility, or the parents, and they're walking right out the door. And if there's nobody from the sport that's using it there, you know,
Where I'm going with this, if, based on the load that's going in there, that's going to decide whether we need somebody to go for that weekend or not.
absolutely. And that's how I have been working it. I worked it last year that way.
Again, if you weren't aware of it, you couldn't do anything
Over
about
the
it.
next
Yes.
several weeks, you will have full use of that community center. There will be many groups going in there. It's going to be used all day.
Yeah.
To include Sundays?
Yes.
How about as far as, Mike said, he didn't know that
Yeah.
any of the programs were even going in there this weekend.
I knew the programs were
He knew the
there.
programs were in there.
I didn't know
He
there was
just didn't-
games or
No,
matches.
a tournament
He
or,
wasn't aware that it was a tournament.
Okay.
And I will take full responsibility for that. My office did not relay to him that it was a tournament. They did relay that these groups were in there, that he had back-to-back groups. He did know that, that they were in there it was from early in the morning. until
8:30 to,
late at night. He
8:30
knew
to
that
10
the
o'clock.
building was being used the whole entire day into the evening.
All right.
I think what it is, it comes down to, and which we discussed before sometimes, when the
And
schedule
we are
goes out.
working on a new scheduling calendar with our IT department, and hopefully that will.
All right. And so I think what it is, Barb, it needs to be a little more specific. And if it's
Yes.
games, it should say not just soccer, it should say
Yes.
soccer games. Field, boom, 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 boom,
Yes,
boom,
I
you know,
agree.
so that we know.
I mean, I talked to Barb and Paul, and I had a
We
meeting
had a
today.
meeting today
Right.
about this.
And we discussed what we're gonna do this weekend, and I don't know off the top of my head if there's a wrestling match Friday night or not. I know they're in there till 9 o'clock Friday night. If there is no match, or if there is a match Friday night, they will be in there Saturday morning. I will have somebody come back before basketball's done and wrestling takes over, and then I will have somebody back Sunday morning.
Yes, and a revised schedule
It's the only way we're gonna do
was
it.
sent out this morning.
And it's
Revised
the only way we're
schedule.
going to know who to hold responsible.
And does
Yes.
it look like it's going to be that way for the next 3 weeks?
It's going to be that way for the next few weeks.
Okay. So let's go with that for the time being. I don't know if you need any further approval from us to approve overtime or anything. And we need to devise a plan. There's no question about it. But in the meantime, we still need to address the issue. And until we figure out how best to do it, we need to have people come in and help us.
I mean, the personnel, our cleaning lady's back on Wednesday. She's been on vacation. She's back on Wednesday. She's always willing to come in and do it. She's never said no to it. She does do a good job when she goes in there and does it.
And she would make multiple trips without arguing about it too.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
just the liability of it alone, it's going to be worth us having somebody in there checking things. I would think.
Now the closing of the facility and the scoreboards is a different story. that's something that you need to get to the group.
Talking to one of the coordinators.
The maintenance we'll handle on our end. The other part you need to address, because one of the issues and the reason why we switched to these fobs, so it's all electronic, is because there were keys all over the place, and we tried to address it from a security standpoint.
And I think Paul has done a pretty good job with, they were all shut off at one time, and then,
We reactivated only the people
Yeah.
that were currently active on our list.
so he's eliminated a lot of the key
So,
fobs.
so if at the end of the day, there's only coaches there, and they may or may not have fobs, they don't have fobs, right?
Right, but to leave, they don't need a fob.
They don't need a fob.
They don't need a fob to leave, they just need.
Well, how
to-
was the place left open then?
Because when you.
Push bar on the door.
Yeah, you unlock the push bar so that they can just come in and out.
So the fobs weren't working then?
Well, you need the.
No, the fobs are working.
I mean, the security system, I mean, it should automatically lock.
I think, we have to look to, if you go over to Ocean City, you go to CL, you go to Dennis Township, all the other programs around here, the weekends, they have a full-time staff member in their community center. And, it's what makes it run, it's what keeps it safe. What they do is they rotate. You'll be off Monday and Tuesday, but you're working Saturday and Sunday. And that's the way their jobs are described. But I think if we're going to use this building the way we're using it, at this time of the year, then we need to look to have somebody there.
No, I don't argue with what you're saying at all. The reality is the building was put in place to be used, and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and that's being used. We have a lot of
Secure it now.
teams using it, a lot of our sports facilities are using it. There's a lot of other vendors, outside organizations that have used it, so it's being done what we had hoped it would be. So we just need to address it from a maintenance standpoint.
Yeah. Right?
Thank you.
The only other thing I had, we sat down the other day with Mike and Paul and myself and went over the budgets for building and grounds. It was pretty enlightening to really get involved with this. It's the first time I've been involved since I got elected, and really sitting down and going over line item by line item and wish lists and all those things. So got a lot accomplished, I thought. And it also gives us time to talk about these kind of issues one-on-one. So, Paul, the other thing is, the old Republican Club out in Sunset, can Kevin call you direct to kind of give him directions on what to
Yes.
do at the county level?
Yep, that's what we discussed. I just need a letter from him so that I can include that in the application down to the county.
Okay.
I just need something from him, the property owner, to move that forward.
Yeah, it's, they're very serious about us winding up with it. So, I know the price had dropped substantially already. So I want to make sure we try to stay on top of it. If we can get it, I think it's a great addition to that park. So I'll have Kevin contact you direct then.
Okay.
That's it. Oh, and congratulations to and Rich. We had our swearing-in ceremony last week. So,
We're ready to start work.
There you go, all set.
Mr. Barr.
Okay, looks like our first round of leaf collection went very well. Paul, we're in their second round right now, right? Second round of leaf
They're
collection.
almost done.
Almost done the second round?
They're almost done the second round, so by the end of
So it
this
looks
week.
like everything went well.
I also saw that they're picking up the Christmas trees too.
They're in the
Christmas
process of
trees,
picking
yeah.
up
Christmas trees are going, brush pickup. And then I think we're doing pretty good as far as our store, what we have on hand for salt. So it looks like Old Man Winter's going to give us a little shot tomorrow night. So hopefully we won't get that much, but it looks like winter's here for at least a few weeks. So other than that, I think we're all prepared in case we get any snow. So that's all I have to report.
any word when they're going to start working on the garage building?
You're talking about the
Township garage.
The steel's been ordered. They're just waiting for the delivery of the steel to come in. I might be about another 2 weeks before steel comes in.
It's all material now.
All right.
Okay. Mr. Pearson.
Good evening, everyone. The free rabies clinic went off this past week, pretty good, January the 9th. And we have one scheduled for February the 6th, 1 to 3 o'clock at Shore Vets. It wasn't a large turnout, but I was told it was a steady turnout. We hope to do better at the next one and hope to sell more licenses, keep that process going. A couple weeks ago, or a couple meetings ago, I should say, we had some discussion over soccer field fees and the process of doing that. I gave you all a sample of the National Guard Training Center's process, how they do it. I'm not going to discuss it now. You guys can look at it at your leisure.
We had time, my understanding is that Callaghan, or whatever the name is removing, they're going to withdraw their request for this year
Okay.
and reapply for next year. So we
Okay.
have more time to get it done.
Okay. But in the meantime, we can, think about how to update our own processes and lease processes, et cetera, and we'll be well ahead of the curve then. That's all I have, sir.
And I have nothing this evening. We covered quite a bit of material already. So let's move on with the resolutions.
Okay. Under resolutions, item number 2, affirming the Township of Upper's civil rights policy with respect to all officials, appointees, employees, prospective employees, volunteers, independent contractors, and members of the public that come into contact with municipal employees, officials, and volunteers.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, authorizing the execution of a subcontract with the County of Cape May for the state fiscal year 2017 Municipal Alliance Program.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, authorizing a contract amendment between the Township of Upper and Atlantic Investigations, LLC, for safety consultant services.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, authorizing a professional services contract with Cape May County Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Incorporated for an employee assistance program for township employees.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, authorizing the Township of Upper to apply for an emergency management performance grant from the State of New Jersey, Division of State Police, Office of Emergency Management, fiscal year 15, Emergency Management Agency Assistance Subaward Program.
Move the resolution?
Second.
And this is a matching grant, right?
Yes.
So if we were to get the maximum of 7,000, we match the 7,000 to get 14, right? Please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, approving the application of the Upper Township Rescue Squad for highway coin drops, and these are requested to take place on June 18th, July 2nd, and August 13th.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 8, tax refund for Block 600, Lot 62, with a qualifier 0235.
Move the resolution.
Second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, canceling taxes on exempt property for Block 647, Lot 23, and this is for a 100% disabled veteran.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, temporary budget debt service.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, authorizing the purchase of a main front entrance automatic door operator from the 2013 Capital Improvement Bond Ordinance in the amount of $3,981.68.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 12, under ordinances. This is an introduction. Introduction and first reading of ordinance number 1, 2016, an ordinance amending revised general ordinance, Chapter 7 of the Code of Upper Township. And if you so choose to move forward with this, we could have the public hearing on February 8th, 2016. That would be
Okay, and for those in the audience, this is an introduction of an ordinance, so we'll have that public hearing where you'll have an opportunity to address the Township Committee. This ordinance is respect to no parking areas, one identified on Mosquito Landing Road, one on Tuckahoe Road, the north side, one on the south side of Tuckahoe Road, and both sides of Tuckahoe Road, a distance of 300 feet from the easterly portion from Stagecoach Road. So I don't know if there's any other discussion amongst the Township Committee members. If there isn't, I'd like to have a motion to introduce this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
There are a number of reports from the municipal departments, Animal Control, Clerk's Office, both the November and December EMS Department report, Finance Office, Tax Collector, and the MUA report. These reports will be available upon request tomorrow at the Township Clerk's Office, but in the meantime, I'll make a motion to accept these reports.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
So at this time, we'll open it up to the public. If anyone would like to address the Township Committee, now's the time to do it. Please walk up to the podium, state your name, your address, and your reason for addressing the Township Committee. No, the podium, because we're recording it and we need your voice.
My name's Ed Dodge. I live at 505 Bayview Drive in Strathmere, New Jersey. It's a permanent residence, a year-round resident there. And I have a concern about invasive species, specifically bamboo. I have some things here for the board if they'd like to view it. I can bring it up to you. I got copies for each of you. But basically my concern is my two neighbors on the side of my property have bamboo as a privacy fence. And I've asked the township if there's an ordinance against it because the bamboo has spread into my property at distances of 20 feet, 25 feet. It's grown up underneath both my front porch and back porch. It's grown into my septic system. It just keeps on spreading. It's very invasive. It's very fast spreading. It's tough to get rid of. And for example, I can watch a shoot come up and in 4 weeks, it's 12 feet tall, if I don't chop it down. And what I'm asking from the township is, one, is there an ordinance for invasive species? If not, would you consider bringing one up? Because eventually I'm going to put in a new septic system because my other one's not up to code if I decide to sell the house. And I don't want to spend 30 grand just to have bamboo roots climb into my septic system and clog that up and waste some money. Also, it's challenging my foundation, and it's spread over to the other neighbors, and it's spread out to the road. So it's a fast-growing plant, and it's tough to get rid of. So that's my question. Is there an ordinance? And if not, would you consider implementing an ordinance for invasive species?
We don't have an ordinance for invasive species right now. I know other towns have had similar problems that we can describe, and they have enacted ordinances, but the township doesn't have one at this point. It's up to the township committee whether you want to address the issue. Obviously, it is a problem. I can tell you from experience that It's expensive to remove it, and when it's not your plant that you installed, other towns have essentially said, look, it's prohibited, and you have a duty to contain it, and you have to pay if your neighbors have to fix it.
Right, to stop it from spreading, from the literature I've read, you've got to dig 3 to 4 feet down and put either steel, concrete barrier in there, so many inches thick to prevent it from coming out through. Now, steel would just rust away in Strathmere, so it would have to be concrete. But I've talked to my neighbors. I'm not getting anywhere with my neighbors. I've come to the township a few times to ask if there's anything that can be done, and so here I am. I don't know if I have to go to the zoning board, so I've just started right here. And
It's not a zoning board issue. It is a municipal enforcement issue. You do have private property rights too. When your neighbors does something to damage your property, you could consult an attorney. You have rights that way as well. Regardless of whether we have an ordinance on the books or not, the ordinance that we would be talking about would be an enforcement police type, public safety type ordinance, not a private property right ordinance or private property right type thing, which you have anyway. If they built something that hindered your property, if they did some type of excavation that hurt your property, same type of thing. But they have common law rights.
Gotcha.
So some of these ordinance, I mean, I think Ocean City's looked at it as well, right? So the ordinance, does it say that you have to abolish existing?
No, I think essentially what it says, you have a duty to conform with existing, and if you don't, there's a mechanism to bring them to municipal court and require them to pay for it, to have it removed and confined, if it's existing. If it's not existing, it's prohibited. You can't plant it. It's done. So we're not going to be able to get rid of your neighbors.
I understand that.
Once they figure out what's going to cost them, they're going to tear theirs out. That's what happens.
Right. And so what I'm just looking for from the township is it could affect you or anybody else. Your neighbors could plant it tomorrow. So I think an ordinance needs to be put in place. I know it's not going to help me at this time, but I just wanted to bring the concern.
It would help you for the invasive nature of it. In other words, they would have to stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have private property rights to enforce it as well, but this would provide a public safety police type ordinance that the zoning official code enforcement could go down and bring an action on behalf of the
There's
municipality.
nothing in the code, in state property management or maintenance codes that we can go to as far as fire?
You know, I looked
fire
at it, I
and
have
that
not
kind of stuff?
exhausted my research, but I do not believe that the state maintenance code
Because
does
to me,
that.
I think it would definitely be a fire hazard if it's encroaching
I
into his
don't know
property.
if it's interpreted as a fire hazard. I understand where you're going. We could also say it's a obnoxious growth and it's a nuisance.
That's where I was going.
But
next.
most ordinances that want to prohibit it come right out and prohibit it.
Yeah.
I mean, we could try that, but the problem with that is our ordinance right now, the burden is on the township to go out, correct it, pay for it, and then charge it against the taxes. Most of the bamboo invasive species ordinances that are out there create a fining system and a court system where the person has to go do it themselves or they're fined. And in
Would
this
you
type
be
of
able-
instance, I don't know if we want to be going out. It can be very expensive and difficult to rip up bamboo, and I don't know if our public works wants to undertake that type of.
Yeah, we have enough things going on. Like
Would you be
addressing.
able to give us examples of some ordinances? I think Egg Harbor Township just passed it one,
I can get you a copy of Ocean Cities and Egg Harbor Townships, and we can take a look at it.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I think it's a good idea.
And, having a little experience with it myself, I mean, it is very difficult to remove bamboo. And so I think what we want to do is try and at least inhibit the spread from property to property. Because their
Generally speaking, you
rhizomes, they
can't stop
grow
them.
along the surface 6 inches, and then the root system goes down, like you said, 2 to 3 feet. But the rhizomes pretty much run almost just below the soil, and they can get in anywhere.
You can make something non-conforming and it's allowed to exist, but you can also make it a violation if it goes on someone else's land. I'm not positive about this, but I think the practical effect of the ordinances is if they start having violations to that effect, it's not gonna be worth it. They're eventually gonna tear it out.
Right.
Now, under the ordinance, does it just stipulate, identify bamboo? Is there any other
It has
vegetation
the
that there's a problem with?
Scientific names,
There's other
form,
stuff, right?
species names. That's the fine work that I'm gonna have to figure out to name the right species.
No, you're the right man for it.
I
All right, so
we'll have that next meeting?
So what kind of time frame do you need to, to give us, I guess you give
I
us
can
some
get you
examples.
samples by the next meeting.
Right.
My understanding is in the wintertime it's somewhat dormant, it really doesn't start.
Somewhat, but this year it's
Yeah, it's warm.
I don't think we've had a winter yet.
Bottom line is, if you had it by early spring, I think it would help this man tremendously, or,
Right, so let's put the wheels in motion to see what we'll look at some examples and then move forward with some sort of ordinance, because, it is an issue that needs to be addressed, and what we want to prevent is from individuals planning it for whatever reason, so.
I agree with you. Just make it so you can't plant it, and like he says, if it's already planted, you got to contain it. If you can't contain it, you got to rip it out.
I don't know that they'll do that, but that seems to be the practical response when it's been a problem in other areas.
So just so I get to some conclusion, and I understand exactly what you're saying. You guys are thinking about implementing an ordinance. You think you might have it done by spring. Are you saying I should wait until then before I take action against my neighbors?
We would give them samples, they would give me feedback as to the type of ordinance they're looking for, okay? That ordinance would then be prepared for the township, it would be introduced, and then a month later, after publication, there'll be a public hearing. And that public hearing, you'll be able to come out and say essentially what you said tonight, and anybody that didn't like it will be able to come out. Maybe there's other information the township committee doesn't have that they can either change the ordinance, decide not to adopt it, or adopt it based on that public hearing.
Okay. So should I wait until all that happens before I take any action against my neighbors in the courts?
Any actions where?
Small claims court. Trying to get something done. A barrier built.
You can't enforce an ordinance that doesn't exist.
No, true.
You can obviously enforce your rights to your neighbors.
Okay.
You would have to seek legal advice to tell you how to do that.
Sounds good. I wish I'd come here 2 years ago. But I've been, trying to get along with the neighbors and, just trying to handle it myself. And that stuff's
Good luck.
going away.
Doesn't always work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Would anyone else like to address the township committee? Yes.
Ted Kingston, Strathmere. I would like to endorse, there's a few areas in town and it goes wild and it'll be 25 feet high. And it's not only that it grows so wild and so fast, but it is a fire hazard. This time of year when it does dry out, I know the few areas where it's around. If it caught on fire.
Well, it isn't just isolated to Strathmere. There's bamboo throughout this whole township.
Okay, I didn't know if it just grew on the island, it just goes wild.
There are larger parcels of ground that kind of keeps it somewhat contained on personal property, but it literally is throughout the township. And so it needs to be addressed, not just for the Barrow and Strathmere, but the whole township. Yeah.
My main reason for speaking, I wanted to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I guess Paul and whoever else worked on the additional beach fill. It is really appreciated that when these types of opportunities present themselves, somebody needs to move on it, and you did, and it's appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Now's the time to do it, to address us. Okay, hearing that quiet out there and there really isn't any other public comment, I'd like to make a motion that we close the public portion of the meeting, and I'll go to Mr. Coggins to read the motion to go into executive session.
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Litigation with Upper Township versus Sansone and Yank. Lloyd versus Upper Township and affordable housing. Contract negotiations with Cooper Health System, Dennis Township Shared Services, Better Hearing, shared services with Cape May County for animal sheltering services. Personnel matters, safety and security matters for the website. I also include in my motion the estimated time and circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality. With respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period is expired.
Second. Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you all for attending this evening. Please drive safely home. Have a great week.
Stay warm.